Founder mode versus manager mode. That's what we're talking about today. We're going to have a live debate. We don't normally do this. This is something sort of off our format. What we're going to do is a live debate where we're going to have people voting in the audience to see who wins this debate. And 15-20 minute debate, and it's going to be on founder mode versus manager mode. And this was an article written in the Wall Street Journal a few days ago. And it was done by a gentleman out of Silicon Valley. His name is escaping me right now, but he came up with this idea that founders actually act and behave differently than managers. And I thought this was a really interesting discussion because I've been on both sides. I've been a founder and done 12 companies now, multi-million-dollar companies, and I've also been on the other side where I'm now the investor, and I fired the founders. So I'm no innocent. I'm not innocent on this at all. Right? I'm actually pretty much I got blood on my hands, right, Michelle? Like I'm not 100% copacetic when it comes to this. But what let me just say this is that it's founder mode versus manager mode, and we're gonna have a debate. Mimi's gonna be our timer. You okay with that, Mimi? We're gonna time us.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I'll do
Okay.
that.
So we sort of want to follow the theme we've been having out like 2 minutes of discussion, 1 minute rebuttal. We'll do this for 20 minutes, and you're running the debate, Mimi. What a crazy week, Michelle. Hasn't it been crazy? Mimi, like to be number one.
Crazy in a great way. Yes, if crazy
Number
means great,
one,
then
like the book's been
I'm
number
signing
one
up.
now for 5 days in a row. That's insane.
Unbelievable.
Insane.
You sound tired, and I understand why.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm all pumped up for this debate, right? And you're on the other side, right? So you're going to be the. So which side do you want to take there? I was going to ask the audience. Like I agree. I think let's let the audience decide who wants to run. Who wants to
All
run with
right.
this?
So
I take.
who takes what side? That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, like it's like I could go either way. I've been a founder. I've run many companies, and I've been an owner and an investor, and I've fired founders. So like I'm horrible. I got blood on my hands, right?
Oh. All right. So we got me. Are you like gonna? Who's voting here? We got shadows. We got a few people down here in the room. I don't know. Like, who wants Colin to be the manager mode?
I want to be the founder mode.
Wait, stop. But stop. Like, all right, voting for Colin. Can everyone just like put thumbs up or down or whatever emoticon they want? And we're going to vote here. So is Colin manager? All right, if you want him to be the manager, raise your hand. Okay, no one's raising their hand, Mimi. Oh,
Oh,
Shadows
one,
raised her
Shadows.
hand. Okay, thank you, Shadows, because I want to see him as manager
Oh,
mode.
and
But
August.
anyways, all
And
right,
Oh,
August.
shit,
August.
I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna
Oh,
lose this.
okay. Colin, maybe you got to break the
I'll
tie
chime
here.
in. I'll chime in. Let's do that. Colin, your manager, and switch it up a little. And Michelle, your
No
founder.
way. That's like so low
Yes.
key.
Since
You
you
guys are
both
not
have experience in both of it, but this might
horrible.
make it a little trickier.
I know. Make it fun,
All
right?
right, fine. That's fine. It's fine. I'll tell you, the founders are the worst. They're the worst.
Okay. All right,
All right.
Mimi.
So who's gonna start? Here, founders or manager?
No, there's got to be a question. She's a moderator. Let's let her moderate.
Okay. Starting for, I don't have a whole list prepared, but starting for two 2 minutes, let's hear the background of the job, starting with manager.
Oh, starting with myself. Okay. Well, let me be clear here that I think that managers are better than founders because they understand exactly what they're doing. We have a situation where companies are started by these founders and they don't know how to scale their companies. Their number one enemy is themselves. That's actually in the book, Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. The number one enemy of founders is themselves. And I'm really trying to take the side of non founders. It's not easy. But to be clear, founders, like they're the bread and butter of the company. There's a reason why the companies exist. despite themselves, they will destroy themselves, and that's why I've replaced them. That's why I've fired founders, and I've hired people like Michelle as a manager to come in and scale a company. See, the reality is that what the experiences that you have when you start a company are not necessarily the personality and profile that you need when you scale that company. The fact of the matter is, managers always beat founders. Michelle.
All right. So interesting that you would take that position, Colin. I'm kind of shocked.
Okay, I took the opposite position.
Argue. It's a debate. Given the statistics show that it's crucially important to have a great founder, and you're never ever going to get to scale. Like I'm kind of shocked when you know that over 90% of founders make it to manager, that you would say that managers are better at scaling. I really disagree with that. And I think it's critically important that you have a good founder in your company, which should be the majority of all companies in the country, given the statistics, because they are in that mode. And that's what supports the American economy, Colin.
That's it. That's all you got.
That's what I got. And I'm just saying, we need, as a country, we need founders. The statistics show that 94% of startups never make it to the mode where they want to think about scaling. Scaling's a luxury. This country was built on the back of entrepreneurs and especially founders of small businesses. So founder mode works, and that's what fuels this country's economy. It always has, and it always will. Colin.
Yeah, it's just such an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal. I read it earlier this week, and we're really dealing with a situation where most companies actually start with a founder and are replaced by a manager. And that manager is somebody who understands how to scale the company versus somebody who's never done that before. I think it's a shame that founders can't learn the trait or learn the skill of scaling. Because if you can learn how to start, scale, exit, repeat, that's it. That's game over. That's the game. That's what we want to do, right?
Yeah, I
Start,
think you
scale.
proved the point. Founders are the most important.
But
Start.
I'm on the side of managers here, and the reason why I think it's important that founders recognize their strengths, and when they recognize that they can't scale the company beyond a certain point, it's better to bring in a manager. And I actually really like the Wall Street Journal. They talked about how founders had the ability to just walk into the factory floor and do what Elon Musk do what he needs to do. He's got, and I've done that before, by the way. Do whatever you need. I had 600 employees at Hostopia, Michelle. Do whatever I need to do to make the product great. Period. Dun dun dun. No one's going to challenge you. Nothing. But a manager's always being challenged. A manager's being. I know I'm taking the other side now. But a manager's being challenged by the audience, by the shareholders, by the founder, by the original directors. And I think in some ways the manager is more qualified to scale the company, but it's just not, it doesn't have that life, doesn't have what it takes to really do what the founders do.
All right, maybe it's telling us something here.
I'm going to jump in with the next question if you guys are ready. That was an interesting take from both of you.
Thank you.
You're playing well for manager.
I don't know
So
about
I
that.
have a question on how you would define success and measure success in your role as a founder versus a manager. Let's start with Michelle in the founder. What metrics or indicators would you rely on?
Yeah, that's really a great question, Mimi. You know, it all starts with the plan and the vision and the passion, right? Like, because we know, founders, they're passionate, they have a passion. So I'm going to say success is what you make it. Okay. This is America. And last time I checked, Colin, it's not all one thing. It means different things to different people. So for me, it actually means being happy as a person, as well as having monetary success. So I want every person that works for my company as the founder to get both of those, and whatever means makes sense for them. But happiness when you're working, the studies have shown people that are happy at work and they feel like they're acknowledged, that goes a long way. But of course, we all know it's important for people to be able to support themselves and their families. And I want to do everything I can do to help them with that as a founder.
All
Thank you.
right.
Colin, your turn. What indicators or milestones do you rely on?
So, I mean, everything's about KPIs, everything's about systems. And, one of the worst, okay, here, I'm going to take her down now. One of the worst things about founders is they have no idea how to track their KPIs. They have no idea how to implement systems to scale. The biggest challenge of a founder is understanding how to scale. And you know what? They don't do it. They don't do a really good job of it. They don't understand it. See, the vast majority of founders are ADHD. They're ADHD entrepreneurs who don't get the concept of scaling, and they think they know everything. I hate that about a lot of the companies I'm invested in. A lot of the founders think they know everything, but you know what? They don't know jack shit. If they just picked up a book like Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat and learned how to scale the business, learned how to implement systems, learned how to understand how to scale a company, how to create a sales playbook, how to do a daily sales huddle, how to do whatever it takes to scale. If they just learn that information, they'd be amazing. But you know what? They're too friggin' arrogant to do that. That's the problem with founders. Drop the mic, Michelle.
Good.
We lost her, Michelle.
Oh, our
You're responding.
moderator dropped.
So you're
What's
responding to the fact that founders are useless.
how can you even say that? You can never scale if you don't start. So we need these founders. They're critically important. And you even yourself said that, Colin, right? Maybe not so deliberately, but founders are part of the ecosystem here. And the truth of the matter is how does a founder evolve? And I'm not going to say that makes them a manager, because I do believe that a founder, be able to delegate as well as understand the nitty gritty of the business. I know I've done it and I know you've done it.
But if you're in the audience and you are a founder or you're a hired gun, either one of the two, just come on stage. We'd love to hear from you because this is what we're talking about today. We're talking about it's an interesting article that was up in the Wall Street Journal, and it's been talked about in the last 2 or 3 weeks about the difference between founders and the difference between managers. And do you get to a certain point as a founder, you hire that out or not? And I'm actually, okay, we're off the debate now. I'm actually making the case you don't hire it out. I'm making the case that you are the manager.
But we
You
got
are the
Richard
founder.
up here.
I'm totally
I want
switching
to,
sides.
yeah, let's hear Richard. You've been indulging us. Thank you, Richard. And that was a lot of fun, actually. And we should have
It was
others up
painful.
in the debate. Love to hear your thoughts on that whole question and founder versus manager mode.
Hello, Colin, Mimi, and Michelle. It's a great conversation to have. I like the debate because someone could play both sides of the fence. When I've worked with founders that want to scale, they often have limiting beliefs based on their past, and they're so close to the trees they can't see the forest. They tried something one time, did not know how to execute it, so they gave up. They are subjective. It's their baby since they started it, it's their dream, and they just aren't able to think at a much larger scale. And that limits them to where they are. They're comfortable in the technician role as well, and they're not really experienced in the leadership role, which, as we know, is key to getting highly productive, very engaged employees. So I think it's a great item. It could be debated either way, but I'm also with you, Michelle. The American economy has always been built on small businesses. They're critical and they're a must, and that's going to remain true forever, but scaling them is where you can create the wealth. But great topic and happy to participate here.
But haven't private equity done that? Hasn't private equity helped out as well? I'm curious. Like, I mean, I know I'm taking that side right now, Richard, but I think there is a ecosystem. We all idolize this founder concept, but there is a lot of work that's done. And let's be direct here, Michelle.
Private equity start companies?
Go ahead.
Does private equity start companies?
No, they don't, do they? They don't have that in them, do they?
Nope, nope, nope. So,
They fund them,
so
and they got some pretty smart people there who can help scale them. Keep going, Richard. I like this. Where are you going with
exactly.
this?
So the founders are critical for even the private equity firms to exist and to be successful. Of course, they only buy a small fraction of all the companies out there, but it does make one think. Build your company big enough for private equity.
Do you think founder mode gives the founders a lot more flexibility to do whatever they want? Basically, that's what founder mode is, right? They have all the flexibility to do whatever they want. They can go to, Elon Musk can go to some guy down the chain. Whereas manager mode, it's more controlled. It's more like they're in the charge, and they're hired guns, and they have to sort of follow some rules of business. I don't know. Like, it's sort of weird. Like, you're right. Like, founder mode, I find it interesting how they can do whatever the heck they want, and they kill it. And by the way, we're talking about some very successful companies. But in that Wall Street Journal article I read, there were private equity and there were venture capitalists who said, fact is, the vast majority of entrepreneurs actually are not that good at scaling their companies, and they need to be replaced. So you know what? I'm stuck on this one. This is a tough debate.
Yeah, it's never easy, right? Just like scaling and everything else. But, maybe that skill set, Colin, I'm just going to say, can exist in one person, both of those. I know it's not the case, and, it's not popular to say, but, there are examples of people who can do both. All right. We have William, Mimi.
Yes, come share your thoughts, William. I don't know if there was a specific thing, and once you speak, I'll pose another question now for our new stage members.
They create this company. They incubate the baby. Like, they make this thing something, but they can't go any further. I'm just curious, William. Have you seen that, or have you thought about that? And Richard too. I mean, it happens all the time. These founders don't know what the fuck they're doing. But most of them that do come up brilliant ideas tend to be pretty smart and tend to be able to scale, right? But then at the same time, there's some that can't, and I don't know. Like, I'm 100% like in between on this one, but I'm also now in a different seat right now. I'm no longer CEO, and I'm firing my founders who have started companies who don't have the ability to scale. I actually think that they don't need to be fired. Here's the interesting thing, William and Richard. I truly believe if they understood that they're not geniuses, and that's the problem with a lot of founders, is they think they're geniuses. Like they think they know everything, but they don't know everything. And if you can actually get to these founders and say, you know what, you might want to read this book, or you might want to learn how to do this, or you might want to learn how to do that, then that can make a huge difference. It really can. I think that we are a nation where we celebrate these founders and we don't recognize the managers. But I do believe that founders can learn that. And I think the number one thing they can learn is if you're not a founder of a particular company, you're not founder of this company or that company, you're an entrepreneur. And your trade is entrepreneurship, and you need to sharpen that sword, and you need to learn how to become a great entrepreneur. And then you need to learn how to start, scale, exit, repeat, because that is what works. That's what makes most people millions of dollars. That's how people become rich. But you know what? We live in a society where you got to become a unicorn and a founder and this, that, and the other. And I think that's too much sometimes. Maybe the debate should shift here, Michelle. Do you sell your company for 10 million or do you sell it for a
Yeah,
billion?
I
Like,
love
why do we
that
all have to be
topic.
unicorns? I think we live in a unicorn nation, and the reality is, it's not going to make a difference if you're worth 100 million or a billion.
Yep. I completely agree with you. And I think that's a great topic for the next show. But William, like, you had some really great points here. But I'm curious what you and Richard think. I think your book, Colin, Start, Skill, X, Repeat, actually does show that you can shift between those modes. I think you need to have what they call EQ, emotional intelligence, so that you can do that. Interested in hearing from Richard and William.
The founders don't know everything, and that's why they should seek out expertise like purchasing Colin's book, hiring a professional business advisor, someone that can guide them through that journey step by step. And with my clients, I tell them, I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. So I have to be very tactful in having uncomfortable conversations with them and get them to remove their limiting beliefs so that they can scale and make quantum leaps with their business. There's a lot of pushback I have with clients, yet once they see the progress, then they're willing to do that if they want to really build a company they can sell. But I see a lot of owners, they're happy just making 2, 3, 500,000 a year, whatever that number is, and working that company for a long time. Some want to sell and some just want to hold on to their baby. But great question. What's your thoughts, William?
Well, first, I'm on the fence, and no offense, Richard, the business advisor thing. I'm on the fence about that because a lot of times I think that advisors do not add the value that a hired advisor won't add the same value that an advisor that is actually engaged in your company for a itty bitty piece of equity, that's actually advising. So they're more interested in growing the company as opposed to getting a paycheck. I'm on the fence about that. At a certain point, I think companies should hire certain individuals, but not immediately, not in the beginning when you're trying to figure out the space. This is just my opinion. I think that you should be focused on building an actual team that is involved in the day to day or close to being involved in the day to day operations of this specific company to help grow it. In my experience, those are the ones that actually has a chance. Going back to Michelle and Colin's point, I think ended my last input by saying a founder should and could have possessed both of those skills, but must be willing to
Well before the era
navigate,
of smartphones and the ubiquity.
must be willing to navigate and allocate some of those managerial responsibilities. But you should be able to do it yourself as well. And you should know how to do it in order for you to effectively lead the manager that you bring on your team. Now, where I don't disagree with Colin is, again, Some companies, yes, they may not be scalable, or people are happy making $500,000 a year. But if you're taking my money, I'm trying to get rich too. So I want that unicorn. I expect that I know the numbers, hopefully 1 out of 10 will make it. I expect all of those 10 to at least have a shot at becoming a unicorn. I know the reality is most of them is not going to happen. I'm in it to make money while I'm helping you achieve your dreams. So obviously, I would want you to sell your company for 100 million as opposed to selling it for 1 million. And I think that that conversation needs to be had very early with the founder that you're investing in. I'm not saying I've never invested in a company that didn't have that scalability. Hell, I, my first 10 companies, none of them were scalable, but I didn't know what I was doing at that point anyway. But still, it's just a different dynamic of investment. And if you have that conversation up front, then you'll have a better understanding of expectations and managing those expectations.
Well, you know what I like about this conversation is we have a couple of people here on the stage who are coaches and they help entrepreneurs. And so they're taking sort of this look. The reality is, I mean, we sort of had some fun at the beginning talking about manager mode versus founder mode. I believe every founder has the ability to be a manager, to be someone who actually has the skills to scale their business. I believe it, by the way. But you know that 99% of companies in America don't scale? Why is that? 99% do not scale. Why is that? Because they don't choose to scale. They choose to be small. They're comfortable with that. They don't choose to learn. I think that's the number one failing of all entrepreneurs for the most part is they think they're too good. They think they had a little bit of success. They got a little arrogant and that's it. They're done. They're like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm an entrepreneur." Blah blah blah. I made $1 million. I made 10 million. I made 100 million. I made a billion. Whatever. But you know what? The entrepreneur that does that and just says, "I can do it all over and over again," it, they're gonna fail. The entrepreneur that says, "You know what? Yeah, I did this. I also failed here. I did that, and I learned this, and I learned that, and you know what? I read this book." The entrepreneur that can learn, the founder that can learn and become better and learn what the managers do. Let's be quite frank here. Let's be quite direct. Let's be quite honest. We talk about manager mode, they're professional mode. They know exactly how to scale a company. They've done it before. And yeah, in a lot of cases, they are better than the founder. And Michelle's an example of that with paw.com. But that being said, the founder can change. The founder can learn. The founder can understand how to scale a company if they choose. If their arrogance doesn't get in the way of them. See, that's the number one problem with all these all entrepreneurs is we're all in our own stupid way. We are all in the way. And if we can get out of the way, if we can pick up literally just pick up a book like Start Scale Exit Repeat, or pick up a book like another good book is the Lean Startup, or another good book is Crossing the Chasm. Like if we can start picking up these books and we can start understanding what it takes to build and create a company, then we don't need these managers to come in and steal our companies from us. Michelle, what are your thoughts?
No, I like the direction that this conversation has gone because I think people tend to think, oh, scaling, Colin, and you've been so successful, you have this book. But we're talking about companies that are not what you would consider to be super large companies.
I'm talking about entrepreneurs and all the entrepreneurs in my companies in my portfolio, and it's like, why have we had to fire them? I wish we could have worked with them and train
Yeah.
them adapt. But the problem is, in most cases, they got very early on success. That's why we invested in them. Like take a paw.com, $39 million in sales. Founder's gone now. But why though? Why did you and you took over the company, Michelle? So
Yeah, I
look,
just
I don't
look,
I didn't
success
want to do
it
that. I
means
didn't want
me.
to do that. And I think that you didn't want to do that in some
Of
ways because
course
you were
not.
involved in other companies that we sold to GoDaddy and stuff. I wish that the founder of this company, paw.com, I wish the founder of all these companies that you hear about, they adapted and learned and changed. But instead, you see these managers take over, and in some cases succeed, in some cases fail. That's the reality.
Yeah. But I would say
I mean, look what happened to Steve
managers
Jobs in,
running a,
right, Michelle?
I know, but I know it came back,
No, I
right?
know,
It
but the first
boomeranged
time they
back.
kicked him out, the company failed after they kicked him out. I think youth is one of the most, it's gonna sound messed up, but I'm 54 years old right now, but I have been discriminated my entire life because of my age. I was 22 years old when I became a millionaire. And you know what? My entire life, and I was CEO when I was 29, I was CEO when I was 33, and people just always looked at me and said, "You're too young, you're too inexperienced." And by the way, I was inexperienced. And it wasn't until I was 36 that I actually brought in a CEO coach, like Richard and William here. I actually brought in a CEO coach to
Very
help
smart.
me. And I've had one now for 20 years or 18 years, 19 years, whatever. That's the reality. Because the smartest CEOs, the smartest founders, they all know one thing. They know to listen and learn from their people. Ideas come from everyone, and we need to act on
And
those
everywhere.
ideas and everywhere exactly. And it doesn't just come from a founder. It doesn't.
I'm good with whatever you guys want. I have a few more questions if you want, or you
Sure,
guys can.
hit us with one more, and then we're done. We're done with the
Okay,
debate.
let's talk exit then. Founders versus managers. How should they plan for an exit, whether it's an acquisition or something, while ensuring the company continues to operate smoothly?
Yeah, so that's actually a really, really good question. And in the book, Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, we talk about how to maximize the value on exit. And one of the techniques is to actually fire yourself. Okay. Here's what I'm going to explain. After I sold my public company to a Fortune 500 company, I worked for them for 3 years. And in that job, my job was to buy other companies. And I bought a lot of companies in this role. And I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was, in a lot of ways, it was a lot of fun. In a lot of ways, it was horrible. But I got to learn the mentality of big corporations. I got to learn behind the scene, behind the screen. I got to learn exactly the mentality. That's important because the one thing I learned, which, and I probably bought about 50, 30, 40 companies in my lifetime. I would say of the 30, 40 companies, whatever the number is, 37, 38, who cares? 100% of the entrepreneurs never lasted more than 12 months. That's it. 100% of the entrepreneurs left the company after we sold it. So, do you think these big corporations haven't picked up on that? Yeah, they have. So, what they're going to do is they're going to think about the founder. And if you have a company where you step back and you actually put another CEO in place, you can sell the company for a lot more money because you're not the CEO. I know this is counterintuitive to everything you've all believed because you're the best in the world. But the reality is, if you can step back, if you can get out of your company, if you can check your ego at the door, then you can increase the value on exit. And I've done that over and over again because when somebody wants to buy a company, they want to buy a Swiss clock that just clicks and just makes money. They don't want the personality of a founder to be involved in that. So that's where manager mode, Michelle, really wins. You think the founder mode wins when you're trying to sell a company? No. The more you rely on the founder, the lower your evaluation because 99% of founders leave their companies after 1 year or 2 years of being bought out.
I agree
Look,
100%. You want to remove the owner dependency so the business can run without the owner there. So that is true, Colin. I've seen that also.
I like the way you say that. Owner, like, you do it so much better than me, right? Owner dependency. We have to eliminate the owner dependency. I like that.
yeah,
So, Colin, what those companies? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Michelle. Yeah. So quick question, Colin. Those companies, and you said 100% of the CEOs were gone within a year. Did they leave voluntarily? Were they replaced, or were they pushed out
They
by
hate it.
the entity?
Yeah. Yeah, let me be very clear, and I
Okay.
did as well. I worked for 3 years for a Fortune 500 company at the very top of the organization. We hate it. Every founder hates it so much. We have bosses. We're being directed in directions we're not comfortable with. We're being told what to do. Like, it is horrible. The vast majority of entrepreneurs leave. The vast majority of entrepreneurs are kooky. They're ADHD, kooky people who, quite frankly, are not investable. That's what I'm saying about here. I know this sounds like
Yeah.
controversial, like, but what I'm saying is that you can create a company that's investable. You can create a company that you can sell for $100 million, but you got to be careful of the entrepreneur being tied to that company because you're going to devalue it on exit. And we talk a lot about that in the book, Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. So, anyway, it's just an interesting concept. That's one area where manager mode definitely wins, Michelle, is that when you're on
I don't
exit.
know.
But
I'm not there.
no,
I'm
people
just gonna
don't buy
say,
founders. The only
well,
way you'll truly buy a founder is through an IPO, through investing in that founder, through Elon Musk, through whatever, by buying the stock. But companies, I'm telling you, 99% of entrepreneurs leave their company after they sell it within a year or two. That's
Oh,
true.
Colin,
I should get the actual number, but
I think Jason wants to say
can I
something.
comment? I am one of those kooky founders, Colin, and I set up my company so I can run it, and I can understand. I wouldn't want watch somebody else run it because it's like a baby to me. Honestly, I haven't had my own baby. Like I've done it instead of other people making babies. Honestly, this is my baby, right? If I was watching somebody, it's just like if you watching somebody else change your baby's diapers and they're not doing it right, and then you try to feed your and then they're not doing it right, and it's just like it would be painful if it's like an adopted parent. Like you put your child up for adoption, and you know it's a problem if you come back into the child's life and you want the child back and you watch the raising your child and you're like, oh my gosh, that's how you're raising my child. Don't talk to my child like that. I can understand why they would leave because it's a really personal, emotional thing. I am one of those kooky founders, and I wouldn't watch somebody else raising my baby. I wouldn't want to watch Jason and Vince.
Look at just suggesting here. There's a different way. You're a super smart founder, and you hire managers. It doesn't mean that you're going on a yacht, going on all these
no, Michelle,
vacations,
you're
going
totally
on
missing. No,
cruises.
you're
Of
wrong,
course you're
Michelle.
so
You're
involved.
mischaracterizing
No,
it. You're miss.
no,
No,
no. It's expect but inspect. That's what a good founder does.
no,
They
you're
hire good managers.
mischaracterizing what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a founder that doesn't go on yachts and stuff like that. I'm talking about a founder
Cruises.
that tries to run a company and doesn't know what the heck they're doing and ends up destroying the company and the investors along the way, which you've seen happen
That's
at
right.
paw.com.
So,
So
as a good founder, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to hire great managers and I will have a succession plan. That makes me a good founder. Think of Mimi.
Yeah, but Michelle,
Yes,
I
sir.
felt like you had a counterpoint to Colin's point about founders exiting after or exiting the company after an exit. I felt like you had something counter to that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the founder needs to completely be gone. And they are making an exit, and their exit is their strategy is to hire good managers. And they've built a brand, they've built a legacy, not just for themselves, but for everybody.
look, the debate's over. I won. You lost. I'm joking. I'm joking. We both
I
tied. It was
don't
a
know
tie.
about
It
that.
was a tie. It was a tie. But no,
It was fun.
what I'm talking about is truth. Where when I was 22, 23 years old, we built. By the time I was 26, we had a multi-million-dollar company. By the time I was 29, we had a company with almost $1 billion, and I didn't believe in myself. I did not believe in myself. Like I thought my business partner, I had two business partners, and one of them was social and did the media, and the other was the technical. He was my brother who did the CTO and all the technical stuff. And it was the largest internet service provider in Canada. And I didn't believe in myself. It wasn't until we had massive failures and different issues. It was probably by the time it was probably really about 35, 34 years old where I began to say, wait a minute, like I'm the reason why that company exists. And that new company was Hostopia. I'm the reason why it exists because I came up with the idea, I carried this concept, and I don't need other people. I don't need to rely on them. I took the mantle of CEO and we took it and we grew it and we took it public, and it was a phenomenal ride. But I'm going back to 22-year-old Colin and saying, you know what? I didn't believe in myself, and I should have believed in myself. I should have read books. Eventually, when I was 36 years old and the wheels were coming off the bus, I got Patrick Dean and Rhythm Systems and Vern Harnish and Jack Daly on the sales side. We brought in all these experts to help us scale that company. And man, we sold for 17 times EBITDA, publicly traded company, to a Fortune 500 company. Michelle, as CEO, sold Dot Club to GoDaddy. Phenomenal. We've had so much success over the last 15, 20 years. But I go back and say, I really should have been myself. I should have believed in myself more. And I wonder if you're in the audience thinking, I should have believed in myself more. It was my talent that got us to a certain level, the founder talent. And it wasn't these investors who kept us going down often bad roads, but it was my talent. I didn't believe in my talent. And they kept having hired guns, the managers. Believe in yourself. And that's it. Believe in yourself, learn, and become better at that trade, because entrepreneurship is a trade like any other trade. And you need to sharpen that sword and make yourself a great entrepreneur, not a good CEO of one company. Not you do not identify as the founder of a particular company. You identify as an entrepreneur because that's who you are. And I am definitely done, Michelle. Go ahead.
Well, this has been amazing and fun. I hope everyone else enjoyed it. I think we should do this format more often, Colin, and get more people involved in our
I didn't
debates.
like it.
But it was really good, and I just want to congratulate you again for being the #1 book in businesses on Amazon for Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat this week. And I think you've won a lot of awards too. But nonetheless, Colin, is the book still on sale on Amazon? Colin,
Yep. Yeah. No. No. I'm here.
is
I
it
had
on
so
sale?
many friends who've written books. By the way, it was a great book that just came out. He was on last week on our show. It's called Eric Malka, who wrote The Razor's Edge. Thank you, Michelle. It's a great book. It's a good book. But you know what? I mean, it's so. I was looking at the numbers today. He's like number 3,042 or something crazy. And we're #1. And look, it's not easy. When you write a book, it took 10 years to put this book together. It was it wasn't easy. And we interviewed over 200 people. We created 158 chapters, 200 callouts, 30 illustrations. It's color coded. Forbes, by the way, did an absolutely incredible job laying out this book. And I give them a lot of credit for the style. We've won 13 awards on the book, and we've been #1 in 15 categories on Amazon. It's been an incredible ride. And to me, I'm ecstatic in the sense that I never imagined it would ever break through. I never imagined a book like this would come through. Like it would just be so successful because you put your heart into it. And anybody who knows who's written a book out there or who's put themselves out there creatively, they understand exactly what I'm saying. You put your heart into it and nobody cares. But, we've been lucky in that 30,000 people have already bought this book in the last 11 months, and we'll see how it goes from here. But thank you, Michelle, for bringing that up.
All right. Well, I think it is at the end of our time, but we're going over to entree next, right? We're going to extend this session.
Yeah, it's interesting conversation. We're talking about personality profile. We've done a really cool GPT that we're doing like a live workshop, and you can, Jason, you can identify. I already know your profile, Jason. All right, but you can go to this GPT. You can answer the 16 questions, and it'll tell you your personality profile. As a founder, it's important to understand your personality profile, because when you understand your profile, then you can hire the people who are similar or different than you, different being more important, and that makes a difference. So that's what today's show is about on Entree. We're actually doing a live presentation We're going to profile Michelle. We're going to see exactly what her profile is. I know you're all saying, like, who gives a care about profile? No, trust me. This is the number one thing you can do as an entrepreneur is figure out who you are, what your personality is. I'm actually it's a bar trick I do right now, where I actually can look across the room at somebody who I've never talked to before, who I've never spoken to before, who I can look across in a bar and say that person's got this profile and actually be accurate about it. But that's what you need to do as an entrepreneur. You need to understand the profile of people around you. That's how you make money because they make you money. Michelle is a dominant personality. She is so dominant. She's the toughest girl out there. Okay. And she's also highly analytical. And she's sold .club to GoDaddy for a lot of money. She's now president of paw.com. She's gonna deliver it all over again. That's what we're talking about here, right, Michelle? I'm not putting you, I'm really focusing on you, but
I am a good, let's just say, case study. But, anyways, I'm really hoping that if you have time, you can come join this. It is a really, really valuable tool. And I'm just going to add a little bit to it, Colin, because I believe that when people are positioned and they're in the right roles, that are suitable for their personality profiles, that they're actually happier too. And I'm speaking from my own personal experiences. It's obviously the person hiring them wants to make sure they're leveraging their resources. But I'm here to tell you that if you are in the right position and people understand communication styles, what motivates each other, everybody's happier.
I fired
Yeah.
hundreds of people in my life, Michelle, unfortunately. But I'll tell you this, the ones that I fired that didn't know what they were doing properly, and then they went to other jobs and they were very successful. And you're right. If you get the wrong personality profile for what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it. If you get the right personality profile to be an entrepreneur, you have dominant and you're either dominant social, or you're dominant and you're analytical, or you're dominant and you're OCD. Any one of those characteristics, you can be an entrepreneur. And if you're in a job and you have those personality, you'll never be happy until you're free, until you're the boss, until you're the winner, until you're the guy who's running this company. All right, we're gonna jump over to Entree right now. Entree is a new app that's come out. You can go to joinentree.com and sign up to it. We'd love to have you on. If you've been listening to us in podcast, guess what? This is actually a live show. We do it every Friday, 2 o'clock Eastern. You can go to Clubhouse, join the room, and actually come on stage, ask questions, and be part of the show. And Jason, we always love you coming on, and of course William and Richard as well. We love to have the audience participate. And it's not a podcast like any other podcast, because most podcasts is like, one person talks to one person. No, we talk to a community. You never know what happens in a show. You never know what can happen because it's so interesting. We have all these interesting people who come on stage, and you can come on stage as well. We're going to jump over to Entree right now. Thank you very much. If you haven't already done so, sign up to startup.club, the email list. That email list on Startup Club was phenomenal. We came out the second publication about 3 days ago, and we came out with the TTSI, the time to sell index. And we're going to publish that every 3 months. It's all about start, scale, exit, repeat. How do we make money? It doesn't cost you anything. It's just simply an email that you'll receive once a month to try to give you some good tips about how to be successful in business. All right. Thank you very much.